are back live. We are here at the Golden Leaf in Hobart, Indiana. 6 and 51 in Hobart, right here on Route 6. Easily the greatest cigar shop in all of Hobart, if not Northwest Indiana. And they've got one in Michigan City. They've got one coming up in Portage. A lot of great cigar shops in town. This one rises right to the top, though. Nestor loves this place. Emil loves this place, and we're getting nothing but hospitality here. Great place. Well, when we're talking ring announcers, easily you will it evokes sounds of Michael Buffer saying things like "Let's get ready to rumble." There are also the Jimmy Lennon Jr.'s out there that have "It is showtime," and then you've got this gentleman who we are contacting live right now. ¿Quién es el más macho? Lupe Contreras. Lupe, are you there, sir?
You do that very well, Chris.
Now you're not going to be like Michael Buffer and sue people for saying that live on the air, are you, sir?
Not anytime soon. Let it catch on a little bit more before I start suing.
Okay. Well, thank you for taking the interview. What's going on in Houston tonight, man?
Contreras for the official introduction.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, damas y caballeros, from Miami, Florida, we find out who is el más macho.
Oh my gosh! Let me run down this guy's accomplishments. He is the official ring announcer for Telefutura Solo Boxeo for HBO Latinos. There's an HBO Latino channel. Their Boxeo de Oro, and Galavision's Boxeo en esta esquina, as well as Solo Boxeo on Telefutura. Lupe, you are back with us, yes?
I am back with you. I apologize, man.
No, that's probably on our end. We didn't give our producer enough bananas today. Lupe, what's going on in Houston, Texas tonight, sir?
Like I said, all is well. We're still wearing shorts and T-shirts. If makes you guys jealous of what's out there.
Oh, bad connection. Bad connection.
All right, sorry.
Hang up on you now.
It was nice talking to you, sir.
It's been a hell of a pleasure, yes. Oh my gosh! So when I run down this list of Solo Boxeo, Boxeo de Oro, Boxeo en esta esquina, Showbox, World Championship Boxing and Boxing After Dark, Azteca America, Best Damn Sports Show period, Fox Sports Net Sunday Night Fights, and Friday Night Fights. I mean, is that just? I mean, how crazy is it, and how surreal is it to have someone read off your resume like that?
Sometimes I have to pinch myself as well. I am first and foremost a boxing fan, and then to get the opportunity to do, basically every boxing program out there, it's been a great thrill for me as well as a pleasure.
Oh my gosh! And you have got such a cult following these days. I mean, this is excellent. We're going to start. We're going to start at the beginning. Where did you grow up, Lupe? And what sports were you interested in growing up, man?
Well, I grew up. I was born in just across the border in Mexico, and it's called Tamaulipas, which is right at the southern tip of Texas. And as a young kid, we moved over to the U.S., as a lot of people have done, before us and since us. And grew up in Houston. I was a big baseball fan. I used to play tons of baseball cards, some which I still have that aren't worth anything. And, like a lot of other guys out there.
Hey, welcome to my world.
Yes.
Like baseball, football, basketball, all the general sports. And, as a teenager, that's when I fell in love with boxing, watching shows like, Tuesday Night Fights, some of the old shows on HBO, and of course I can still remember when some of the big boxing events were free on ABC and some of the other networks.
Oh, back when boxing was free. Yes.
Those were the days.
Those were the days. What kind of broadcasting experience are we dealing with here? Now, Lupe Contreras is not just a ring announcer. He's got some radio experience. Talk to our listeners about that a little bit, sir.
I was fortunate enough to work in radio for over 10 years. I did virtually everything there was to do in radio. I worked in bilingual radio, Spanish radio, English radio, did everything from, news reports to being the guy up in, doing traffic reports up in airplanes, which that didn't last too long because that wasn't the best situation for me. So, not that I'm afraid of heights, I'm just afraid of small airplanes.
I'm not afraid of planes. I'm just afraid of falling.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's not the fall; it's the sudden stop at the end that kills you.
Yeah.
That deceleration syndrome.
Yeah.
So you're very well versed in broadcasting, of course. Talk a second about now. Somewhere there's a kid that says, "Oh my God, I'm listening to Lupe Contreras on the Bullet Punch Boxing Hour. I would love to be a boxing ring announcer someday." This kid is saying. How in the world do you answer a question when someone comes up to you and says, "Lupe, how did you get into boxing ring announcing?"
You know, that's probably the hardest question to answer. You know, for the simple fact that you know it's all kind of a whirlwind. You kind of get caught up in it, and before you know it, you know you're doing some of the big fights or working with the big companies. I can only speak for how I got into it. You know, I was like I said, a big boxing fan, and I wanted to give it a shot. And I went into a Thai boxing school where I trained a little bit of Muay Thai, which is using a lot of the MMA and it's really big in Southeast Asia. And a friend of mine, after a while, was putting on a small show, a small mixed martial arts show. And he knew I had radio experience, I had some public speaking experience, and said, "Hey, how would you like to be the ring announcer?" And I said, "You know what? That's something I'd always wanted to try." So I did a couple of fights for him. And luckily, someone took a picture of me in the tux inside the ring. And then I heard that Univision at the time was looking for someone to do the ring announcing for their, Solo Boxeo shows when we were still on Sunday afternoons on Univision. And I sent in that particular photograph. I blew it up like an 8x10. Sent in a recording, and they liked it. They called me back and said, they were going to fly myself and 10 other guys down to Miami just to do a live audition on a show called República Deportiva, which is as best as I can describe it, it's kind of like Sports Center meets Hooters. It's they cover all the sports topics, and they have hot chicks in the background, which you can't have Spanish TV without hot chicks. I always tell people.
Well, I mean,
it's the only reason I watch Spanish TV.
Exactly. I tell people you can't spell talent without DNA. And so we from there they chose 4 of us, and after those 4, we all got to go around the country and do the live show with Top Rank. They enjoyed what I did, and they kept me. And I thought it would be short-lived, maybe a few months here and there. And from there on, everything went really well. I started getting the hang of it more and more. Met more companies. Started working on other networks and with other companies like Golden Boy and Main Events, Bell Entertainment. And boxing is such a small community. Everyone knows everyone. And if you tend to work well with one company, the other guys tend to start using you. So basically that's where leads me to the point where we're at now. But as far as specifically telling people, the only thing I could really recommend is that if the opportunity arises, take it and try to do the best that you can. And I always tell people try to perform as if you were at the Mandalay Bay or if you were at Madison Square Garden, because you never know exactly who might see you and who might give you that break.
Wow. That's sound advice from a top-notch professional. I appreciate that. Oh my gosh, what fighters do you like to watch? Now you can't go announcing every fight in the world. At some point, you have to end up at home and watch the fights. Who are some of these fighters these days that you're into?
I'm a big fan of a lot of the guys. I like a lot of little guys in boxing. Guys like Jorge Arce. He's the type of guy that I wish he spoke English a little bit better so people could just understand what a chatterbox is. You sit down and talk to him, you ask him one question. It takes about 30, 40 minutes for him to answer, but doesn't take a breath, just, very exciting, very charismatic, and he's also a great action fighter in the ring. Of course, I like people like Oscar, Manny Pacquiao is big. I really like a lot of the stuff that's coming out of, Southeast Asia and Japan and things of that nature. And, some of those guys and some of the up-and-comers, some of the guys that you don't see or you don't hear a lot about unless you're a hardcore boxing fan. Some of the guys that you see, on our shows, like an Antonio Escalante, Jose Hernandez, who, just had a great show up down in Miami. I think he was with you guys last week, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, sir.
Another great guy. Some of these guys that, still work that 9 to 5 and, are still out there trying to get a hold of a world title. Those are the guys I really admire.
Well, I'll tell you what, the Irish love their Irish fighters. The Russians love theirs. The Polish, obviously, are huge in Chicagoland. But talk to me a second about these crazy Latino fighters in the Chicagoland area. How crazy is it to sit there and say your tagline in front of a packed house of Latino fighters?
You know, the Chicago audience has always been one of our best audience for solo boxeo and telecultura, and in general, I think Chicago is a great boxing town. Obviously, you guys produce a lot of hometown boxers, and a lot of what I call these blue collar guys that, like I said, they're working their full-time job, and afterwards they're hitting the gym every single night, and I think that's what makes them that much more exciting and that much more hungry for a victory. In Chicago, you have a great deal of people from Michoacan, from all over Mexico, and obviously the Latin crowd is the crowd that keeps boxing alive, and it's kept boxing alive for the last few decades. So it's really exciting to be a part of it there. It's always a very electric atmosphere, and I love to see the people respond, and I never know exactly. I get 10 or 12 invitations after the show to go out to eat with people, or to go down to a bar or whatever it might be. So it's always a nice experience to know these people are enjoying your work, and most of all enjoying the sport and supporting it and keeping it alive.
Well, in Chicago, they enjoyed your work so much that they actually named the next event after your catchphrase there. They're calling it Macho for the next event.
I talked with Dominic Pasoli, and he asked me, hey, would you mind if I use the phrase? I said, no, not at all. As a matter of fact, I consider it an honor. He told me he was going to put it on the poster before he did it, and I just thought it was great. And I think it's a great way of helping me to promote myself, my phrase.
Sure.
And like I said, for it to be out there and for people to know it, I think it only help me and help what I'm doing.
Lupe, just make sure that you tell them, the first time's free.
Actually, we did have that conversation.
Yes.
And I said, hey, don't worry about it. He's a great guy, and like I said, I have a few favors I need to call in with him anyway. So
okay,
I'm sure that'll be some nice leverage I can have that.
Are we going to see you out here at the next event?
I will be there. I arrive on the 25th, and we have the show on the 26th there in Cicero Stadium.
Yep.
And I will definitely be there.
Are you
You're live and ringside? Yeah.
Do you want to? You ought to come out and have a couple of cigars and a couple of beers with us when you're out there.
Well, unfortunately, I don't smoke or drink, so maybe
Oh, man.
with you.
No. Fortunately for yourself, you don't.
Then you could be our designated driver.
Yeah, you could drive us around.
I played that role since high school. So
No, we wouldn't do that.
No, we were just playing with you.
Lupe, if you have a couple seconds, I wanted to ask you a couple questions that came in on the Instant Messenger from fans all over the country, if you don't mind.
Sure, that's great, yeah.
Okay. One of the questions here from upstate New York is, if given the chance to announce an active fighter, who would it be?
That's a pretty easy answer. I would love, hopefully Oscar's tuning in. I would love the chance to do Oscar Mayweather coming up Ohio,
Oh,
I get to see Oscar occasionally. I always, joke around with him and, ask him, I'm just waiting for the phone call. Got my text present ready. So, I'd love to do a fight of that magnitude. That would really be the dream fight for me.
Well, if Oscar stays active and does more than just the Mayweather fight, your chances just multiply there.
Let's hope so.
Beautiful. And the follow-up to that question is, if given the chance to announce any fighter in history, who would it be?
You know what? I've actually had that opportunity. I announced one of the Julio Cesar Chavez farewell fights in Los Angeles last year.
Good Lord.
Which was, packed house at Staples Center. It was, obviously it was what it was. It's I would have loved to announce them in his prime, back when the whole Chavez mania was going throughout the country as well as Mexico. But just the fact that I was able to utter those three words, Julio Cesar Chavez, in front of a packed house in L.A. of all places, that was really a great moment for me, and it's an experience that I'll truly treasure and I'll never forget.
With Chavez, all the ring announcer really has to do is say Culiacan, and it's over.
Oh, yeah.
And they go insane.
Everyone goes crazy, and it's amazing the following that he has and the passion that he still inspires in people. Just to see him at an event, or just to have the opportunity to actually do one of his actual fights, even though it was at the end of his career, I truly cherish that.
Have you ever planned, or do you plan on coming out to the Boxing Hall of Fame at all? Out in Canastota, New York.
I had the invitation issued to me numerous times.
Yes.
Unfortunately, we have such a busy schedule with Solo Boxeo and some other shows that pop up occasionally that it's always taking place when I'm, elsewhere. We'll either be in Puerto Rico, we'll be, in L.A. or wherever it might be. So it always conflicts with, with the TV schedule. And I'd love to be out one of these days. Hopefully, maybe we can plan an event where one of our fights takes place there during, Hall of Fame weekend.
That'd be cool.
Now, you're bilingual, obviously, and now that opens up a lot more doors for you as well in different events. How does that work out for you with the different fighters that you get to call?
If I wasn't bilingual, I'll be honest with you, I probably wouldn't be here. It's given me the opportunity to, obviously, the Spanish is what we target with our TV audience, but most of the places that we go to is, the live PA stuff and addressing the audience itself is done in English. It gives me the opportunity to also to talk one-on-one with a lot of the fighters. Most of the fighters that we have either are straight out of Mexico or straight out of some other part of Latin America, and they don't speak English. So it gives me the opportunity to talk to them a lot, get to know what they're like, get to know some of their personalities. And without the Spanish, I'm almost positive I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now. It gives me the opportunity to target a very specific part of the boxing audience, and like I said, it's the Latin audience that keeps this sport alive.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you ever run across an opening for a Spanish interviewer, I'd be glad to help you out there if you'd like.
Okay.
Nestor Garza Romero had a groundbreaking interview with Eric El Terrible Morales this past year at the Hall of Fame. He sat down with us for a good half hour. And we're looking forward to the Roberto Duran interview that he's going to be pulling off this coming June as he's inducted into Canastota. So,
with a lot of these Hispanic fighters, many of them are very well spoken, very articulate. Eric being one of them. I mean, he's a guy that expresses himself very well. And like I said, I think it's a shame that oftentimes the English-speaking audience doesn't really get to hear their thoughts or their ideas, especially during some of the post-fight interviews, simply because of the fact that due to time constraints or sometimes the translation isn't exactly what they were trying to get across. But these guys are great to talk to. Like many of them are very well schooled on the history of boxing. A lot of them have a lot of knowledge and a lot of ideas to share.
Yeah, sometimes it unfortunately doesn't come across because the interviewer maybe not have the same passion or things like that, and it's a shame because it truly is something that the English-speaking people should really be able to hear the passion from some of these younger Mexican fighters and even some of the older Latino fighters that just don't articulate well in English, and it is a shame.
Yeah, no, definitely is.
well, Lupe Contreras, we thank you for taking the interview. His website is lavozdelbox.com. That's LAVOZDELBOX.com. La Voz del Box, which means in English, the voice of boxing. Lupe, I never miss a chance to get a little something from the people that we interview. I would love to get a Quién es el más macho here live on the air. If you've got one nearby. If you don't have one nearby, then
usually only dish out one per week, but I'll definitely make sure and do this one for you.
I would appreciate that, sir.
Beforehand, though, let me thank you guys for having me on your show. I think it's great that guys like you are out there. Like I said, along with the Hispanic audience, I think the guys on the internet and the guys who take time to report on the sport and cover the sport of boxing are really doing the sport a great service. And I think, like I told you when we've spoken before, sometimes I find out from you guys where I'm going to be before the promoters even call me. So thank you guys. Thank the guys that are listening to the show, and we'll definitely see you guys out there on the 26th at Cicero Stadium, and we will see Quién es el más macho.
Beautiful. Thank you so very much, Lupe Contreras. We will talk to you again in Cicero. Thank you, sir.
All right, thanks, guys.
Good night.
All right, bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Excellent.